unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxingego Unpacked. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Hey, yay. We are all gathered here today to talk about Terence Bud Crawford. Y'all thought it was over, but it's not. Terence Bud Crawford back on the menu. The WBC. They got some things to say. They got to let it be known then. And your boy Ego, I got the deets up in this video. So, should be another good one. I will really get unpacked. Let y'all know at home what it is and what it ain't. All that good stuff. Let's go. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I am back with some more boxing. Now, Terence Bud Crawford, I get it. He's retired, probably enjoying life, you know, the usual. But Mauricio Sulaimán, he got some more to say. Now, if you recall, the last time that Sulaimán spoke on Terence Crawford, I made a video about it. And he was basically saying that Crawford was really cowardly and he retired cowardly, and there were plenty of options available to him. In a brand new interview with Ring Champs, Sulaimán is back, and we gonna get unpacked. Roll the clip.
I have to address the elephant in the room because we're close friends with Terence Crawford, and obviously a lot has been said, right, about the sanctioning fees. He just brought up those fees, and his argument was that he made a deal with the other sanctioning bodies for a certain amount, and that you were the only company that didn't want to agree to those terms. So can you give me your version of what went on? Because he put out a post responding to what you said. I don't know if you spoken to him since then or seen him, but you saw the video, I'm assuming, his post.
No, I didn't see it.
You didn't watch it?
No, I saw some of the captions.
Okay.
And people told me.
Okay, what he said, right.
I did not want to see it.
You didn't want to watch it?
Oh, no. Because that's not Terence.
That boy said he ain't watching that Crawford. He said he ain't watching that Crawford joint.
What?
It was when you speak in social media, sometimes you get
influence,
or you are not in the right mind.
Okay.
Let's be very clear. We're not a company. We're non-for-profit.
Right.
We have rules and regulations.
Right.
And we are not the same as any other.
Oh, he said, we are not the same. I am a Martian. Like Gonzalez. That man said we are not the same. So don't compare us to no one else doing it, no other sanctioning body. We nonprofit. We do our own thing. So there's that.
For good or for bad.
Okay.
Every penny that comes into the WBC goes back to boxing, one way or another.
Right.
So he knew the amount that the WBC had assessed for that specific fight well in advance.
Okay. So Mauricio Sulaimán just let it be known that Terence Crawford knew the amount he would have to pay for the WBC belt well in advance. And this has been going on a little while. We haven't heard Crawford refute that. So to me, that changes the dynamics a little bit. But I'm going to keep going.
And supposedly it was $300,000. That's what
300,000, which is a cap.
Cap.
Mm-hmm. Much less than the 3% that the rules say that we could enforce.
Right.
But we understand.
We put a cap on it. Right.
And especially this year, last year, that money was to go to the Jose Sulaimán Boxers Fund, which was created back in 2012, and it's drying out.
Right.
We started it with a Hublot watch company. We had 2 events, but it's drying out every year.
He said the money go back to the fighters, and they have money allotted to that, and it's drying out from helping other fighters. That's what he's basically saying. Let's go.
Here we give grants all over the world to many fighters in need.
To fighters, just
To
specifically fighters.
And they don't need to be WBC associated.
Right.
They can be
just,
4-rounders.
They just be in need. They just
Fighters in
Right,
need for
in need.
housing, medicine, surgery, even to do burials.
So did you consider?
So hold on. Mauricio Sulaimán, president of the WBC, says when fighters die, they pay for some of the burial and funeral expenses. And when fighters need surgery or whatever, hardship, loss of employment, foreclosed house, whatever, that's where they draw from that pool. And they said it don't have to be WBC affiliated fighters like a WBC champion. He said it could be a guy in a 4-rounder. Wow.
His offer or right away you would force that?
It's non-negotiable.
Gotcha.
Oh,
It's so...
He just said, did you take Crawford's offer? He said it's non-negotiable. He said it's not up for discussion. You gonna pay what we say to pay.
negotiable.
Love it.
Gotcha.
And it's so sad that it goes back to money. Because when you talk about money and this, you're gonna be the bad guy.
Right. Right.
Very
That's true. That's true.
unfortunate.
It's
a
iffy.
no-win.
Right. It's a no-win, really. But you said that he didn't pay sanctioning fees for the Majamor fight as well.
Yes.
But so how does this work? Before you fight,
Was
is
the
there a
Majamor
contract you
WBC?
sign saying I'm going to fight for this designation, this title, and I'm going to pay the 3% or the 300,000, whatever it is? Does he have to sign anything beforehand, or is it an unwritten policy?
No, there are contracts. Once as a promoter you submit and you get the sanctioning, the
Yeah.
rules are there.
Right.
And boxing has been there forever. It's not something new. He has been a champion 12 years.
Yeah.
It's not something new. But I don't want to talk about this because I don't want to. I can respond everything.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
But I'm not going to talk bad about Crawford.
No, that's not
and
what I
nobody
want.
is.
But, because we definitely don't want
But
that.
you definitely have to say your part, though.
Well,
Your
my part
in
is
this, and
he knew he was fighting for the undisputed recognition, the 4 belts
Yeah.
that Canelo had fought. He had fought 12 years as a champion,
right.
and they had the amount plenty of time before the fight.
Why doesn't it come directly out of the purse? Do you guys ever negotiate that
We
type
cannot-
of thing?
we-
Can't do that.
You cannot do that.
Can't do that.
Right.
So the fighter actually has to make the effort to do that. And Canelo has always complied as well.
Yes.
Hmm.
Everybody has complied.
Right.
As I said, Miguel Cotto,
Right.
that was
He said everybody complied except for Cheap Crawford.
8 years ago or more.
Right.
Through the WBC, he was able to get to fight Canelo,
Canelo.
the
Right.
biggest fight of his career,
Yeah.
as terms of money and
Right.
exposure.
Yeah.
Nah,
And-
Floyd Mayweather.
He did not want to comply, so he lost the belt
Right.
on the week of the fight. We sat down that same day at the MGM, the people from Rock Nation, Golden Boy, and me. And I said, work it out and we will recognize it.
Right.
They had percentages if he walked in as a champion, if he didn't walk in as a champion. I mean,
Right. It was
all these
crazy.
things that are very unfortunately money comes into place and it is not, but these are the rules.
And Crawford has complied all of these years because you say he's been champion.
And we
So-
have offices. We have 50 employees in Mexico City. We have offices remotely around the world.
Right.
We have committees. We have medical research. We have all the social responsibility programs.
Wow.
I mean, this is the money goes to operate,
Right.
and it is clear, and you can see it, you can feel it, you
Right.
can.
That's why I don't get into those kind of conversations, because I've been in other countries and seen you do the work. I've helped. You know, I've seen you go to the places where the kids are sick, or I've seen you help fighters that never won a WBC title, and you help them. I don't understand, but people don't know that. You know,
Well, people need to talk about it
people
more,
just
I guess.
don't know that. So that's why we had to give you a platform to
I
talk
appreciate
about the
it.
things that you do.
When we help, we don't advertise it.
Right.
It is like saying, I'm doing this so I can get
So
recognition.
people can
or-
see it, right?
No. People that have asked for help, they're so humble and so deeply sorry to have to ask. Many of them don't even want, it comes from different sources that they are in need. Today, a fighter is being buried. They did not have the money to bury him, and we paid for it.
Wow.
So
Is it the next WBC champion
he's here. He was here
in
That-
in America?
in America, yes.
Wow.
So how do you
Dennis Milton.
Dennis Milton? Okay.
Oh,
Wow.
okay. Wow.
They
Sorry
did
to
not
hear
have the money to bury
And you guys
Friday.
take care of it.
So we
Friday.
paid it Friday, and today he's putting to rest in a
Wow.
honorable way.
Thank you for that.
Wow. Okay. Listen, the sanctioning bodies may have, their own hangups, and I've called them out. I've been very, very vocal. WBC has played some political games, like with Canelo, clenbuterol levels. I called all of that out. You don't have to take my word for it. The videos are still up. Enjoy. Search my name. You'll find them. They also were hard on certain people like Wilder when he said he wanted a body on his resume. But, other people said X, Y, and Z, and they didn't really say. So I've been very fair on my channel. And my thoughts regarding this Crawford situation has not changed one iota, one bit. Now, I know it's going to come to a shock to some of y'all, because you think, based on the fact that I've went after the sanctioning bodies for various issues, that I'm automatically going to side with Terence Crawford. But in the fighter, I'm not. I think the way Crawford went about it, right, was faulty. It was faulty. And for the rest of the video, I'll explain it, right? For one, I think one of the biggest issues is Sulaimán brought up a good point. Crawford, he's pretty much always been a champion. Every division that he's ever been in, he's been a champion, right? He's not like a Ryan Garcia who just got one belt recently, right? So that's why Bud made his name. And at no point in his whole career do I ever recall him disrespecting the WBC belt like that video he did. And I've already made a video about that, so I'm not going to play it again and stuff because he's cussing and all that type of stuff. He was basically like, take your belt and shove it, where's the money really going? And just put negative energy out about the sanctioning body. But the problem is, like Sulaimán is saying, look, you wearing 2 WBC belts here, right? So you had no problem, Terence Crawford had no problem donning the WBC belt when it was convenient. And then a week or so before you're about to retire, you wage war with the WBC and talk about keep your stank belt, who do you think you are? I'm Crawford. I'm the fighter. We make the belts, and the belts don't make us. We the fighters, da-da-da-da. And you switched up your whole tune. But look at all these pictures of him with the green belt. And to me, that is faulty. That is faulty that you got 2 WBC belts right here in this picture, and it was all good when you're beating Errol Spence, all good when you beat Ndongo, because here's the thing. Crawford, part of his resume, let's be real, his resume is not that great and not that deep. And then towards the end, I guess you could say it got better. You know, he got better names at the tail end. But even those names, you got people at kind of weird times. So what it is, like Miguel Cotto, Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, Pacquiao, they had names in their 20s, right? Diego Corrales, and for Pacquiao, Eric Morales and Ladwaba, like they were already certified in their young 30s and 20s. Crawford was with Top Rank, not getting none of the names, not getting the Pacquiaos, not getting none of that. And then late in the game, like pretty much his last 3 or 4 fights, that's when Sean Porter came about, his last 3 to 5 fights or whatever, where you started getting the Sean Porter, he started getting the Errol Spence, you know, Madrimov and Canelo. Those are probably the best names he fought in most people's mind, right? Definitely the biggest with Errol and Canelo. Again, you had no problem with the WBC then. And then I also find it very coincidental that Zuffa Boxing came in the game and they were out here saying that we're not recognizing none of the belts. Dana White's getting into boxing. And to be honest, like, this is what Crawford is co-signing. So the guy who's Mr. Boxing, you're co-signing Dana White and probably the Ali Reform Act and all these things that really aren't advantageous to the boxer at all. You know, to have billion-dollar corporations in charge of it. Look at them dudes in the UFC. And it goes to show you the selfish nature of certain people, right? Where we all see the UFC fighters complaining, they're risking their lives, they're getting kicked, punched, elbowed, kneed, eye pokes, cauliflower ear, right? All of these things, and then getting underpaid and looking at boxing like, man, how are they getting so much money? How's Conor Ben getting so much money, right? And then because of who Crawford aligned with, right? Now he seems like very complicit in that whole regime. Like Kinahan, who just got arrested, right? There was a point in time where it was noted and reported that that could be his advisor. We'll just leave it at that, right? Turkey and Zuffa, you're doing their bidding by trying to denounce the WBC because there was no reason for you to go at them and violate them that late in the game. Why just think about if what I'm saying is wrong, right? Which you know it's not, because I'm the best in the business and it's not even close, right? But peep this. Why did you do right by the sanctioning bodies, pay your fees for 11, 12 years, right? And then a week or two before you're getting out the game for good, that's when you decide to wage war with the WBC? How is that not suspicious behavior? And it coincides with TKO, Dana White, Turkey, and what they're trying to do with the Ring magazine and disrespecting the sanctioning bodies. Come on, bro. That would be like you're an all-star employee. You've never missed a day of work. You've always been a good employee. And then you're about to retire from the company after 30 years. And then you wait till the last 2 weeks to miss a day, to call in sick, to start being a flaky employee. Why were you diligent on the job for 27 years, 30 years, and you get to the final stretch, and then that's when you want to violate, and that's when you want to, man, this company ain't ish, and I'm not coming in today. That's when you want to do it? Like, you should have did that a long time ago. You should have did that way back when, and maybe that would have made more sense. But you're literally going to wait until the eighth inning to trip out and violate the WBC, I'm not buying it. So for me, I think it's propaganda. And then Sulaimán, whether you love him or hate him, he told you what the money's for. It's up to Crawford and whoever else, Shakur or whoever else is now trying to beef with the sanctioning bodies, right, to prove that they're using the money for something else, right? He just told you the fighter's name. So call him a liar and call that people's family. He just said the guy's family didn't have enough money to bury him, right? That's easy to fact check. You're in the industry, call the people's family and see if Mauricio Sulaimán offered assistance or helped him or if he's capping. Because Crawford was like, man, how do we know what the money's going for? He just told you. So now the ball's in your court to prove him a liar. So Crawford selfishly used the sanctioning bodies, all of them, literally bragged about, I'm 3 times undisputed. No man has ever done that. I was undisputed. Even before he was 3 times, when he was 1 time undisputed, right? He paraded around and threw that in people's face that he was undisputed, all for him to, right before retirement, turn his back on at least one of the sanctioning bodies over money when we know you made a lot of money. And Sulaimán already told you. He was like, yo, it was known in advance how much you would have to pay. So why didn't Terence Crawford be like, F the WBC, I ain't paying that $300K? And then he got on the video is really disingenuous because Sulaimán is telling you or telling the world, you knew how much you would have to pay in advance, well in advance, so you could make accommodations. So if you're really that about it, why didn't you just tell them, keep your stinking belt, I'll fight Canelo. We're the fighters. You just said that in your rant. We are the fighters. We don't need the belts, which is now what his little brother Shakur is saying. So why didn't you keep that same energy before the fight and try to sell the Canelo fight without the sanctioning bodies? See, one thing I don't allow that you guys allow, I don't allow fake-ish. You guys can do that, but I don't. I'm always going to call it out. They used the sanctioning bodies when it was convenient, right? Let me give you an example. They're like, Crawford's fighting Canelo if he gets past Williams' school. Who's Williams' school? Nobody really knows. Nobody asked for the fight. Nobody wanted the fight. He was some random Cuban guy that Canelo was on $1 million worth of game. He didn't even know who Williams' school was, right? The whole selling point that these people, Ring, TKO, Turkey, all of them told you, and the Bud Buddies, and the Canelo stands, they all said the reason Canelo is fighting this guy is because he's an IBF champion and Canelo got stripped of that belt and he got to get that belt back. So once he gets past school, the Crawford fight is for all the marbles, all 4 belts. And it was on Netflix, right? So if there was a problem to the point where one fighter feels he doesn't need a belt, he's bigger than the belts, and he Crawford, and your name's Cassell, then why didn't you fight Canelo and Crawford? Why didn't they just fight in May? If you guys, that's what I'm saying, you guys allow fake statements to be made without nobody checking it and nobody looking into it. Why didn't Crawford fight Canelo in May and just skip the Williams school fight altogether, since he said we are bigger than the belts? People tune in for us. They don't care about the belts. Okay, then there was no reason for Canelo to fight Williams School to get the IBF belt back. You should have went straight into your fight, right? And then if you were that brazen and that about it, why didn't you tell Mauricio Sulaimán before the fight, hey, I'm not paying you, so you might not want to recognize this particular bout. Don't recognize the bout because I don't agree with the money that I know in advance and I don't plan on paying you. See, people don't want to do that. They don't want to keep it real. And I think that would be the more professional thing to do, right? If you know, like, fine, you know, and the fans are like, oh man, it's 200K, bro. 200K, but you made millions, and part of the allure, part of the reason that you're advocating the fight and people to tune in and people to watch is because of the sanctioning bodies, and then you don't want to pay your tab. That's not really how that works, right? You want to use people for their resources, like the lineage and the history. Muhammad Ali had the belt, and Floyd and Pacquiao, right? All the history within these belts, and you want the undisputed title, but then you don't really want to have to pay for it. You know what I mean? So to me, that's funny style. And fine, let's say Crawford's just like, nah, I want my 200K. If that's how you absolutely felt, then why didn't you just fight and not make it undisputed? You wasted these people's time, which is unprofessional. And why would they think you wouldn't pay when you never complained about it? You always see, that's the other thing. People are like Shakur went on a podcast with Mello, and they're like, man, you got to pay for a belt you won? It doesn't make sense. These people don't know nothing about boxing. So of course it don't make sense to you. Boxing has always had these standards and rules. So there's not really anything out of the ordinary. It's news to you because you don't follow the sport close. So you're like in shock that fighters have to pay for these belts, right? And here's the thing. That argument is very weak. Let me explain. People are like, oh man, this is unbelievable. The boxers have to pay for a belt that they won, right? Let's look at the UFC. Let's look at Dana White, right? So in the UFC, they don't have to pay for the belt, to my knowledge, right? They just win the belt, and they won the belt fair and square. However, it's easy to produce a belt all on your own when you control the most popular MMA fighters. You take away their endorsements, so their trunks can't have their own personalized, like Dave's Barbecue or Willie's Automotive Shop, and they can't get their own sponsors, and they're not getting that much money given the risk and given what they bring to the table, right? Like they'll have their likeness in the UFC video game. How many of them are really eating off of that? So people keep making this big deal. Oh my gosh, the sanctioning bodies charging $200K for a belt they want. Yeah, but the UFC, would you rather be in the UFC where, okay, they're not going to charge you $200K for a belt, but you're not even going to make $200K, or you're barely going to make $200K for a title fight, right? This is what y'all don't want to bring up. That's why I got to unpack this stuff and come correct. Y'all can't beat me. Y'all can't defeat me. Y'all can't outsmart me. You can't outthink me. Case in point, I show you receipts. There is a UFC fighter, right? Boom. This is her. What is that pack on her back? Oh, that's right. She's doing DoorDash. A UFC fighter doing DoorDash, and she's a bike courier or whatever with the UFC. I'm a YouTuber. And listen, I ain't got nothing wrong with DoorDash or Uber Eats. Get it how you live. But I'm a YouTuber. I'm not even doing Uber Eats or no other job or whatever. I'm doing straight up online content creation for myself, by myself, and keeping all the profit. But you got UFC champions and stuff riding bikes, delivering food part-time, and got OnlyFans pages, right? Trying to support themselves. And again, hey, You got bills to pay, you got kids or whatever. I don't know everyone's situation. Handle that. Cool. Handle it. But that's the difference between boxing. These boxers, it sounds like a lot of money, especially to people who've never made 100K in a year. Of course, 200K is like, oh, this is preposterous. Boxing, you could do 36 minutes of work and Crawford could have got $50 million. Canelo got $120 million or whatever, right? So you got to put that in context. And again, even if you didn't want to pay the 200K, then don't pay it and don't fight for their belt. It's that simple, right? You want the Canelo fight to be as big as possible and for it to be billed as undisputed, and you wanted to be recognized as undisputed, but then you didn't want to pay your tab. You know, it's like eating a bunch of food at a restaurant and then you don't want to pay your bill. Like the food was good, the customer service is good, you just don't want to pay your bill. So I thought this was wild from Crawford. And now that Sulaimán spoke his mind, it still looked bad, right? And now you got Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn. They're like, man, we the fighters. And the game, y'all was praising Turkey. Y'all was like, man, Turkey, he's saving boxing. None of this stuff is saving boxing because you got a company coming in here trying to change the Ali Act, change a bunch of the rules, got fighters acting like prima donnas, and we're getting less and less fights and more bickering and more people going against the status quo. You know what I mean? And saying this and that. Where's the action at though? You know, now you got fighters like Shakur doing the same thing. Like, oh man, me and Devin could sell out. And there's fake rumors of fights. You're not even getting the fight. So to me, this is forever unless Crawford comes out and does an interview or something and explains a different side of it, right? That I haven't considered, which is probably doubtful. You making all these faces when you became undisputed again, but then you don't want to pay these people their money. You know what I mean? And I just believe in a world where fair is fair, right is right. And here's the thing. If you don't want to partake in it, don't partake in it. You know what I mean? Get your tank on and be like, I don't really care one way or another about these belts. But Crawford, his whole entire career has been wrapped around accolades, undisputed, moving up weight classes. I got this belt. And then now look, like, why are you doing, why am I finding so many pictures of him holding his belts? Why do you have a trophy case at the house if they're just trinkets and you don't really care about belts? So people like Crawford have a very inconsistent message. Look, somebody holding up the WBC belt in the Victor Postol fight that I went to. Your messaging is horrible and inconsistent. Throughout your whole career, you cared about belts to the point where you have a display case of your belts and you always brought them to press conferences. I was there. I mean, what fighter? That's like Michael B. Jordan got the pictures of him he got the Oscar award. And he got it at the In-N-Out Burger. You dig? So you're supposed to. You work hard for it. You achieve something. You're supposed to want it. And then what I find very rich is Crawford didn't want to pay his bill, and he's trying to spill that type of mentality to his little brothers, and then crying when his stablemate, Lester Martinez, you see this WBC belt back there, right? They got the WBC back there, and then you wage war with the WBC, and now somebody in your stable, you want him to fight Christian and Billy, and like, oh, he deserves it. He deserves the rematch, and he's the interim stuff. And now this man want to play the WBC sanctioning body game after you just said that the WBC is basically trash. Like, these people come straight out of a comic book, man. You got your son holding the WBC belt. You want M. Billy to get a shot at the WBC belt, but then you try to cook the WBC and violate them and not pay them, spreading that type of messaging to future fighters, because there are fighters that look up to Terence Crawford. So that's the whole thing with anybody associated with Turkey, Ring, Zuffa, anybody in concert with them, right? These people are complaining about the sanctioning bodies. Where's the money going? Why is so-and-so not getting a title shot? Blah, blah, blah. The price is too much. Yada, yada, yada. But then you don't want to pay your bill. You can't really have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And I always provide receipts. Crawford, look, is actively campaigning for his stablemate, unbeaten Guatemalan contender Lester Martinez, to receive a WBC super middleweight title shot. Bro, get this man out of here. Pack him up. Pack him up. You went on a rant saying the WBC is trash. Where's the money really going? We don't need y'all belt. Keep your belt. Take your belt. It's not worth $300K. The real belt is the ring belt, and it's free. But then now you begging the WBC to give your mans a shot. Why? I thought belts don't matter. Crawford argued that Martinez, quote, should be a champion right now. Now it matters to be a champion? Like, this is what I'm talking about. And then y'all got the nerve to act like Boxingego ain't consistent. My messaging is always consistent. People like Crawford or Shakur, their messaging isn't. 1 minute, you're pro fighter, you're pro belt, you're pro accolades, you're pro milestones. The next minute, you're trying to get your Gervonta Davis on, and you're like, I don't care about these belts. These sanctioning bodies are crooks. And then after doing that, you're lobbying for your mans to get a title shot after you just said belts don't matter, essentially. The WBC, there's some con artists and sharks. But then now you want your boy to get a title shot. It don't work like that. Shakur Stevenson crying because he got stripped at lightweight. I'm glad. I'll strip them all. Don't give none of these people, don't give none of these people a title shot if they going to disrespect the product. I mean, how does that work? That's like letting someone into your house and they on their Rick James putting their dirty shoes up in your couch. Yo, couch, nigga. Yo, couch, yo, couch. And they just disrespecting your house. You got to get up out the crib. You can't, there's nobody that's finna disrespect me and remain in my crib. And I got ways to get you out. Put it that way. You know what I mean? So this is what I've complained about. The Bud Buddies, they're like, come on, ego. But y'all don't got nothing for me. What I'm saying makes sense. If you hate the WBC, you don't like their protocol, why are you, Terence Crawford calls for Lester Martinez to get a title shot. Why do you care about title shots? Who cares about Lester Martinez? I hope he don't never get a title shot. For real. Because you made your bed, lie in it. How does this work? Where you say, oh man, come get your belt. $300K, y'all some crooks. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Slap yourself, Mauricio Sulaimán. But hey, can my boy get a title shot? Man, Mauricio Sulaimán, if I was him, I'll be like, no. I'll move him to the bottom of the list. He'd be, bro, they lucky I don't have a belt. You will be at the 100 spot. I'll move you out the top 10 so quick just because you with him. Remember when 50 Cent was beefing with Ja Rule and then he started beefing with Jadakiss and Fat Joe simply because they did a song with him? I'll be on that. Lester Martinez, Bomac, the whole gym, Shakur, everybody know. There's nothing about, like, the sanctioning body is kind of like a driver's license. To be able to drive a car in California where I live, right? That's a right. That's not a privilege. I mean, it's a privilege. It's not a right. You know what I mean? There's nothing that says California has to allow you to drive legally, right? So you got to respect it. And if the DMV said, hey, You want a driver's license? Take this test. Get your license. Hey, what they did a couple years ago to me. We know you got a license, but we need you to come back down to the DMV and get a real license because we changed them. And I had to pay for it. But guess what? Just like the sanctioning bodies, these protocols and processes have always been in place. If I want to legally drive in California, which I do, I've rode dirty in the past before. I don't like that feeling, having to look over your shoulder for cops and stuff like that. Not my thing. I don't prefer that. You know what I mean? I've been there, done that in my younger years, right? Where you got to turn a tight one and stuff. You see a cop and, make sure they don't check your registration and all that, right? Again, to drive a car in California, you got to follow DMV protocol. It's really no different. People keep making this into some big ordeal. Oh, the WBC, they're crooks. How could they? Bro, they're a nonprofit. There's a lot of history started by his dad, Jose Sulaimán, and their belts sweeten the pot in a lot of situations. They allow for you to be undisputed. And if you want to be a part of that, you want to be recognized for that, then you got to pay like you weigh. Just like if I want to drive legally in my state of California, DMV going to make me take a test and pay for it, get a real license and pay for it, do the behind the wheel test and pay for it, or whatever I got to do. I got to pay my registration. I got to get a smog if I got to get a smog. I got to, there's just certain rules you got to follow. If I want to go to Costco, I can just not pay my membership. I got one for Costco and Sam's Club. I can't just not pay the membership to Costco and be like, oh, hey, give me a hot dog and a soda. Hey, give me a slice of pizza. And I want to get that patio set. Like, bro, to come in we have established rules to come into our warehouse and get these deals that we got. You didn't get these deals. We got them. You want this Kirkland, you going to pay us. So what's the difference? Now, I get it. Okay, Costco charging $50 or $150, whatever, because I got the executive membership, you know what I mean? Light work. Versus $200K, but it's pretty much the same, right? And people don't complain like McDonald's and all these places, Netflix, YouTube. I got an email from YouTube. They said, hey, your YouTube premium, the price is going up. It's inflation. McDonald's raising the prices, YouTube Red or whatever, that's what they used to call it, YouTube Premium going up. If you want ad-free videos on YouTube, pay this price. You want to watch Netflix and access to our catalog, pay this price if you want to do it legally. And if you don't do it legally, then, if there's any repercussions, you got to face that. So I still feel the same way even more so after hearing Mauricio Sulaimán. The bottom line is Crawford, he didn't do his due diligence. You did it for 10, 12 years or whatever he was talking about. And in the final lap, right before your retirement, that's when you choose to abandon this practice of paying one of the sanctioning bodies and told them to keep the belt. To me, that's just weird. That's weird. And again, I could respect it maybe if you came in the game like Gervonta talking about, I don't really care about the belts from the beginning. But you was wearing their rings, going to their conventions, donning the belt, carrying the belt I've been at your fights. I've been at Crawford fights, right? You was cheesing with it. Shakur was cheesing. Now these guys are talking about, oh, we don't need belts. We too big for the belts. Okay, then Crawford, go get you a Zuffa belt. That's the people you want to be in concert with. Put that Zuffa belt up in your trophy case. Don't put the green one up there. Or a Shakur. Tell Shakur to go get a Zuffa belt. A Nickelodeon belt. Yeah, go get one of them. You don't want to follow the rules, go get that. You know what I mean? And I'm done talking about it. We Unpacked.